Well, our top story today from thegatewaypundit.com, a man whose death sentence was commuted by Biden in 2024 is indicted for first-degree murder of a 12-year-old girl. We're covering this story and so much more here on the Gateway Pundit's Week in Review. My name is Elijah Schaffer, and this is the Gateway Pundit's Week in Review. We cover the top 5 stories of the last 24 hours. Our top story today is by Jim Hoft. A man whose death sentence was commuted by Biden in 2024 is indicted for first-degree murder of a 12-year-old girl. This tragedy is unfolding as we speak. Here's a picture of the perpetrator. May he rest in piss. Thomas Stephen Sanders, a convicted child murderer whose federal death sentence was commuted by Joe Biden in December of 2024 through his auto pen. Remember that little guy in his fake White House and his fake signature? Has been indicted for first-degree murder by a Louisiana grand jury. Sanders was originally sentenced to death in 2014 for the 2010 kidnapping and murder of a 12-year-old Lexus Roberts of Las Vegas. It's eerie as a parent to even think about your kid being murdered, like someone raping and murdering your kid. I do understand the whole, stereotype of the wood chipper. You really just think about children. Like I watched my son taking his swim lessons today. So cute, so innocent, he's like, doggy paddling. And to think about anyone even just thinking about harming him, I'll kill you. I really would. I would kill you. And you don't really get that till you're a parent, right? And those of you guys that are parents totally understand. Now, obviously, he had taken Lexus and her mother, Solian Roberts, on a trip to the Grand Canyon, during which he murdered Suellen in Arizona and then brought Lexus to Louisiana, where he killed her in the parish. That's crazy. Despite his federal conviction and death sentence, Biden commuted Sanders' sentence to life imprisonment without parole as a part of a broader move affecting 37 of the 40 inmates on federal death row. Now the state of Louisiana is seeking to impose its own justice. A parish grand jury indicted Sanders for the state-level murder of Lexus Roberts. District Attorney Bradley Burgett announced that his office will seek the death penalty, emphasizing that Biden's federal commutation could not affect state prosecution. Now, what I find to be a little bit weird here, Mr. Hennessy, is why does it feel like whenever Democrats are in power, they are always intentionally helping the worst in society, not the least, right? Like Jesus said, he's here for the least of these, but it's the worst, right? It felt like that for those 4 years of Biden, that they were intentionally helping illegals, helping murderers, helping BLM riders, and then attacking anybody. They were attacking Catholics. Remember that? Parents.
Yep.
The FBI was raiding parents. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I think it's very sickening. We see it now with the gangs, MS-13 being shipped off to El Salvador, and the Democrats are actually rushing over there. We've seen with the BLM riots, the same thing. They went ahead or should I say Summer Love, they went ahead and were getting funds together to help get these people out of jail. And now with Biden, releasing all these criminals while during that term, me being a J6er, they went and tried to hunt us down and were tearing everybody's lives apart. Even if it was peaceful, they went ahead and they attacked. But Biden thinks that these killers and everybody else should be released. So it's really sad to see the justice system the way it was used, especially with the Democrats. Yeah,
I hate these people. And that being said, what do you think about that? Because obviously, people have been attacking our people. And right now, obviously, Mike Lindell from MyPillow, he backed up Trump in 2020. He was, of course, investigating the fraud. And what did the companies do when he tried to protect democracy? They ended up fake buying his pillows. This is what big box stores did. They ordered huge orders for his pillows. And then they canceled the orders so that he would waste his funds on building a massive inventory of his own products. Isn't that crazy? Just to try to bankrupt him. But, well, that is terrible. His loss is actually our gain because he's decided, well, then fine. If the big box stores are not going to buy at wholesale prices and they're going to try to bankrupt us, I'm going to sell direct to the public wholesale. So now he's doing 2 sales. Not only can you get the MyPillow, usually $50 right now for only $14.98. So he's selling it to you at the wholesale warehouse pricing, which is crazy. You can get the queen size for $18.98 and the king size for $19.98. It's made in America pillow. It's very comfortable. It's possibly the most comfortable pillow that you can buy. I did sleep on a pillow one time that was more comfortable, and then I asked how much it was, and it was $335. So, this is under $20. So you can spend $330, maybe get a slightly more comfortable pillow. But if you want the best pillow you can get under $100, this is going to be it. I ain't bougie like that. They also have a pre-sale closeout on the Percale bed sheets. These are also extremely comfortable. Hennessy, I know you have these on your bed. What do you think about them? I don't know if you think. Do you have an opinion?
I've been loving them
every night.
You gave me some pillows and some sheets. I'm looking forward to the slippers as well as promised. But
we'll get those for you.
It's actually like luxury bedding. You get a much more better sleep with the pillows, not anything too bulky. It fits the head and the curvature just right, and the sheets have been amazing. So
Yeah, and they're only $25 right now.
that's the crazy part.
$25.
And then the cause of how you're, what we're actually doing, because Mike Lindell has been a big advocate for free speech and having our country's back. So getting luxury, bedding, and at the same time being able to help an amazing company, I think it's great.
Yeah, you guys got to check it out at MyPillow.com, promo code Elijah. Plus, there's free shipping options there as well. And you get these amazing discounts. Check out their new energy drink, Rev 7. It's amazing. It's a nootropic, and it's fantastic. I honestly encourage you to order some with your pillows. Promo code Elijah or call 1-800-210-8491 at MyPillow.com, MyPillow.com, promo code Elijah. Anyway, talking about our story today, let's get into the world. General Flynn and Jerome Corsi, Trump's national security emergency investigation into election fraud is ongoing. Will we find a resolution? That's something I'm actually interested in. This is by Jerome Corsi and Michael Flynn have actually published this article. Shout out to them. The article first appeared on the American Thinker and is republished with permission. For this nation to remain true to its principles, we cannot allow any American's vote to be denied, diluted, or defiled. The right to vote is the crown jewel of American liberties, and we will not see its luster diminished. President Ronald Reagan, the statement about the extension of the Voting Rights Act. With Tulsi Gabbard's announcement last Friday that an ongoing intelligence agency investigation has evidence that election computers are vulnerable to cyber attack, hackers President Trump's actions suggest that he is moving quickly to declare an election fraud national security emergency. On March 24th of 2025, when Trump issued the executive order, the EO, preserving and protecting the integrity of American elections, he did so under the auspices of his Article 2 executive powers as commander-in-chief, placing it beyond judicial lawfare. Nevertheless, 19 Democrat state attorney generals have already filed lawsuits charging that EO violates the Constitution's mandate, delegating to the state legislators the power to determine how presidential elections are held. Trump, however, is correct that election fraud coming from outside America is an overriding national security concern. And on January 7th, 2021, John Ratcliffe, then the director of the National Intelligence, wrote a memo entitled Intelligence Community Assessment, Foreign Threats to 2020 U.S. Elections. In it, he stated explicitly that the People's Republic of China sought to influence the 2020 U.S. federal elections. What's crazy about this is I'm not as concerned about China and Russia as I am actually concerned about the legal lobbying of our electors, because now this network and myself have very different opinions on this. My opinions don't reflect the network. It does not reflect Jim Hoft. It does not reflect the Gateway Pundit. This is my personal opinion as an independent journalist. But aside from the network here, I am really worried about what Qatar. I am worried about what Israel. I am worried about what even Russia or China are able to do legally outside of registering for FARA, right? So, I get concerned, right? When I saw there was China, for instance, was putting $330,000. I think was it the mayor of Boston or Mass? I think it was maybe the mayor of Boston. One of these people.
Boston.
Yeah, the mayor of Boston putting $330,000 into the election of a mayor of a city who's a Chinese girl. Is that? I don't know if we have that detail. I'll correct that in the future. But I mean, I may feel a Hennessy. I feel like there's something odd here when you see from any of these countries, the big four, right? Iran, Qatar. Well, I guess it's five. Iran, Qatar, Russia, Israel, and China. What they kind of do in our country by sort of buying out politicians and pushing their narrative. A lot of this is not illegal, and they get away with it. But I feel like whether they're our allies or our enemies, foreign countries shouldn't have the ability to openly influence our politicians, and we shouldn't be, putting money into races from a mayor all the way up to a senator. It's alarming to me.
Yeah, no, it's very alarming to me as well. As I said, this is my personal view. I don't think that our politicians should have dual citizenship. I think that we should go ahead and choose just, if you're going to represent America, America should be the number one priority for you. And it's sad because with the elections, everything going on with that is we've lost faith in the elections because of all this interference and everything else that's going on. And it's very important that we should be able to believe in a fair and honest election. So I do hope that, I know Trump won. We're very happy about Trump winning. But I hope that we don't take our eyes off the scenario, because yes, we should be able to cheer and say everything's good. But at the same time, we already know that in the background, There's some characters that are trying to infiltrate, and we got to make sure that the next election is just as fair. So
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's why it is concerning. I'd love to know your thoughts below, because obviously, right, everyone here probably at the Gateway Pundit really supports Israel, probably doesn't support Iran, probably doesn't support Russia or China. But I feel like when I went to China and I worked there for a while, people claim, oh, you must be getting paid by China. When I said a couple good things about China, but that's actually kind of a funny statement, because our politicians are saying good things about our allies or countries because they're being paid to say so.
Mhm.
I mean, really, is the UK reflecting our values? Like, ask yourself that. They're jailing people for memes. Does that reflect American values? But they're our ally. But what is an ally? I mean, don't we support them more than they support us? What if we're their ally, but are they our ally? I think it's time that we take a closer look at the people that we claim support us, and we realize they're actually manipulating and taking advantage of our economic zone. They're treating us like a sugar daddy rather than like a friend. And, there's only one winner in a sugar daddy relationship, and that's me. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have any sugar babies, but that's kind of a crazy statement. Anyway, moving along, Robert Simoson published an article on the Gateway Pundit that said that a White House science chief says the U.S. can manipulate time and space. Trump hits at secret a weapon that no one knows about. In a bold and somewhat cryptic statement that's turning heads and raising eyebrows across the globe, White House tech chief Michael Kratsios claimed that the United States has a cutting-edge technology capable of bending time and space. Well, that's bizarre. Don't believe me? Listen to it directly from the mouth of the chief. Here he is on record talking about this in front of the Building America sign. Watch.
We seem to have lost focus and vision, to have lowered our sights and let systems and structures and bureaucracies muddle us along. But we are capable of so much more. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow and improve productivity.
So a lot of people were suspicious of that, right? He said we can manipulate space and time. Now, was he just being bombastic? Was he being hyperbolic, right? Was he just kind of saying like, kind of people say, oh, a nuclear war would blow up the earth. Like, that's not really true. But we do use that sort of colorful and descriptive language when we're talking in a political world. Also, could it just be that they're trying to intimidate Iran, right? Trying to intimidate, other countries that, hey, we have nuclear weapons, so do you, but we have something beyond that. But also, sometimes I wonder, and I'm sure Hennessy, you would agree with me on this, sometimes people in the government let things slip because kind of like when people have juicy information, they're a gossip and they don't protect your information. The government really likes telling us the crazy things it's doing, not to educate or to inform us, but because I think these people have egos and they let it slip all the time, the kind of crazy stuff they're up to.
yeah, it could definitely be that, just a fraudulent slip or just kind of letting it out. But I'd be interested to see what the time and space is. I'd also love to see Kamala try to explain it. You know how she explains space already. But I don't know if it's a deterrent because of everything going on with Iran and all these other wars that we have at our doorstep. But be interested to see what it is. Spend a little time in space.
I would too. That being said, in addition to that, another story here, Marco Rubio shuts down the government office that's been censoring the free speech of Americans. We have the full video here of that speech. However, before we talk about that, I want to remind you guys that if you're like me and you're getting into that age where your body just hurts all the time, you know what I'm talking about? You just like I woke up today, my jaw hurts. Like I don't know why, but I have like jaw pain. It's so annoying. Does this happen to you guys? I'm sure it does. Well, don't reach for another painkiller until you learn about this little known turmeric hack for pain and inflammation. Now, obviously, you've probably heard about turmeric. It's good for you. It's being used to fight inflammation and joint pain. But here's the thing. Not all turmeric is created equal. There is low quality turmeric. Regular turmeric powder in your pantry might help a little bit, but a leading pain doctor from Connecticut discovered a special turmeric extract that is 200 times more powerful than what you find in standard turmeric. And when he shared the turmeric hack with his patients, the results were shocking. The turmeric extract attacks pain at the source, turning it off like a light switch so that pain not only goes away, but stays away. Dr. Josh, the brains behind it all, has spent over 20 years helping hundreds of thousands of Americans finally break free from the constant aches and stiffness. And his turmeric hack has been the backbone of success. Say goodbye to expensive surgeries, pain injections, or ineffective over-the-counter medications, and say hello to pain-free living. This is incredible stuff. Once I started taking it regularly and I've seen it, honestly, it brought down inflammation. I used my whole bottle, but it was pretty fantastic. And it took down, I always have like swelling in the face and stuff. It took down swelling. So if you want to learn more about Dr. Josh's turmeric hack and the exact method for how to use it in your daily routine, go to goldenrevive.com/gateway. GoldenRevive.com/GATEWAY. That's goldenrevive.com/gateway, and watch the video in the description. Now, that being said, check out this interaction of Marco Rubio expressing what exactly happened. Watch.
Secretary, thank you so much for being here with sharing for the American people a very momentous day in the history of the State Department and the U.S. government in restoring free speech and America's role as the beacon of free speech. Something very historic transpired today. Could you tell the American people what that was?
Well, we ended government-sponsored censorship in the United States through the State Department, and let me explain how we get there. This started out, 10 years ago with this effort of let's go after the messaging that Al-Qaeda and ISIS and others are putting to radicalize people. Who's going to be against that? That sounds normal. And then it was like in 2016, we had this foreign interference in our election. We need to start targeting some of that stuff. By 2020, it had grown into this movement of actually going after individual American voices. And one of the ways that was being done wasn't just directly, because the guy that was running this thing, Stengel, was actually a guy that was out there saying, Donald Trump talks just like a Russian spy. He talks just like a terrorist. And so do the people around him. But they were also taking money from this program and using it to fund these NGOs, these third-party groups who were supposed to be impartial. Those groups were then tagging. They were literally tagging and labeling voices in American politics, Ben Shapiro, the Federalist, others, tagging them as foreign agents. So you look at it and say, American taxpayers, through the State Department, were paying groups to attack Americans and to try to silence the voice of Americans. And there were consequences. These weren't just a label they put on people. Some of these people got deplatformed, they got taken down, they couldn't communicate. So it was outrageous. So before President Trump took over, they disbanded this unit. They just renamed it and moved it somewhere else. But now, over the last few months, we've worked on it and just taken it down. And to the extent we're spending money now, we are going to spend money on messaging. It's going to be pro-American messaging, and it's going to be incentivizing and protecting free speech, which is threatened in all over the world, including countries that are allies of ours. The best way to counter disinformation, if that's what people are thinking is out there, the best way to counter disinformation is free speech, is to make sure that what's true has as equal or greater opportunity to communicate as what's not true. We've learned that the hard way. But when you turn disinformation into a weapon, a political weapon, a label that you can use to go after people you don't like and say, anything that person's saying is disinformation. Well, listen, I read mainstream newspapers every day, or I watch mainstream broadcast every day that I know are disinformation. Okay, we have an issue right now. They keep calling it Maryland man deported to El Salvador. No, not Maryland man, El Salvador citizen deported to El Salvador. That's disinformation. Every day, a U.S. senator yesterday said that this guy was a kidnapped American citizen, and they published it in the article without any fact check. He's not an American citizen. So the important thing is that we have free speech so we can counter that, so we can say this is not true. That's the way you handle that. And, but we have instances now in Western countries where people are being arrested. You've seen this. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
People are out there, they put a post and the cop comes knocking on their door. You're going to go to jail for 60 days for posting something online.
Right.
This is crazy stuff that's happening around. The vice president addressed this in his speech at the Munich conference back in February.
Yes.
So we got a lot of work to do, but the most important thing is we're going to make sure that as we communicate to the world, it's going to be pro-American. Things that build up what this country's working on and explaining what we're doing, not attacking Americans who are exercising their First Amendment right. Right. And he does bring up a pretty good point there, right? Obviously he says directly that American taxpayers through the State Department were paying groups to try to silence the voice of Americans. It's hard for me to back this up. I just want to make a note of this. When we're adopting IHRA guidelines to literally silence Americans. And look, I stand against anti-Semitism, okay? And we do at this network. But I also, I hate the anti-white rhetoric that comes out of these colleges too. But I do think people should have the right to be a POS. I think, free speech means protecting speech you don't like. That's what I believe. And I don't like BLM, but I think they have the right to protest. Not burn down, buildings, but it's we can put boundaries on people. But this administration is really attacking free speech. The Trump's administration is putting a lot of restrictions, and they're, demonetizing, defunding schools for free speech. And people say, well, it's, not the speech I like. And you're like, now we just sound like leftists because, we're defunding and demonetizing, speech we don't like. And that's this whole freedom of speech, but not reach, which is another form of censorship that I don't like, that even Elon Musk has adopted onto his platform. And I think a lot of, Trump supporters, which I am myself included in that, are getting hoodwinked into supporting a lot of bad policies that this administration, including Marco Rubio, are supporting. But I think most of it's actually coming from Kristi Noem. Because Kristi Noem in South Dakota is infamous for instituting some of the strictest anti-free speech laws in her state. And now she's in charge of the DHS. So now they created immigration policies where you can get deported based on your social media activity or not get your green card if you're critical of certain countries or people. And I feel like that's dangerous. I don't know if you agree with me, but like, look, I agree with the sentiment. I don't like that kind of speech, but punishing that, we're on a slippery slope here. And I think because it's Trump, people think no wrong can be done. I support Trump, but I'm not a fan of Kristi Noem.
Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of her myself either. And as I said, as far as free speech goes, this is one of the most important things that we need to protect. And even if you're on board with what the reason behind why this administration is doing it, which I just believe all free speech should be free. Of course, we have violent rhetoric, which should not be allowed, and we do have laws in place against that. But what if the next administration comes in and starts to use these same guidelines, these same kind of tools, and then the next thing you know, they're coming for us or for somebody else? So free speech needs to be preserved. The Second Amendment needs to be preserved. And there's a reason why our founding fathers put this in place. So I'm not a big fan of it at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and remember, sometimes, just like the left lets their people get away with crazy stuff, our side is doing some really crazy stuff as well. Some people are even doing interviews with their shoes off. That's you, Vivek. Anyway, just a shout out to one of our articles, the new evidence against New York Attorney General Letitia James' Fishy, Virginia foreclosure purchase is there on our website. If you want to find out more and you want to support us, join our mug club at thegatewaypundit.com. You can get one of these amazing mugs. They're very, very high quality. You should get one for your home. I've loved it always, and I appreciate having one of these in my house. Support us there. Join the club. And if you want to follow me and support me, you can find me at elijahschaffer.locals.com. It's my social media. It's free to join. That's where you can find updates. You can find all my shows, everything I do. It's right there at elijahschaffer.locals.com. That's elijahschaffer.locals.com. See you there. Have a great rest of the week. If you want to find my producer, you can find him at snowflake_news. I'll see if I can. He's on Instagram and he's on X as well.
Yep, you can find me on either. You can find me on either X or Instagram. I post a little bit more on Instagram, but it's at snowflake_news. So
I think I'll bring up on the screen here for a second. Yeah, if you want to find him and you want to get up with his ideas, there it is. You can get the follow right there, snowflake_news, to get all these updates. He does more updates than even I do. Have a great rest of the week, guys. As always, and may God bless the United States of America. I'm signing out.